What is up, everybody? It's time for another installment of Friday Q&A. As always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all your questions this week. If you've got questions for the next Q&A, get them in the comments. Ask me anything you like, and I will do my very best to get back to you. Bit of housekeeping this week. As I said last week, Ragdoll are going to be in Melbourne and in Sydney between the 6th and the 13th of March. Obviously not in both places at the same time, but we have some shows which we're going to announce hopefully in the next week, as I said, but definitely doing Melbourne, got a couple of shows there, and definitely have a Sydney show lined up. So if you guys are in either of those places on the Australian East Coast, it would be awesome to hang out and catch up with you. Hopefully I've got some other non-gig stuff that relates to the guitar and, you know, kind of workshop-y kind of things as well coming up as well, which I can talk more about very, very soon. But until then, let's get into this week's questions. Question number one relates to this guitar and the feel of the scalloped neck. I actually broke a string on this not too long ago, so it's only got 5 strings at the moment. But I really like the way this feels. I forget that the frets have these big gouges taken out in between them, and anytime I hand it to somebody, they're always like, whoa, what is going on here? So I like it because you can play with quite a light touch. But if you want to, you know, I don't have the E string on here. The thing that I like the most is you can get a really good grip on the E string when you're bending on it. And it's great for those Yngwie style bends, you know, the really wide and slow vibratos. So it's super cool for that, but it's kind of funny. The gig that I use this guitar for the most is like a funk R&B gig. I've got the main preset for it here dialed up, and I basically just live on the neck pickup doing this kind of stuff. And it's actually amazing for that. The Damasios in this are stacked, so they're silent, but they've got a really nice low vintage style output, and it sounds amazing clean. So that's why I use this guitar a lot. I do use it in a lot of my demos because it's such a mellow sounding guitar. So yeah, I definitely dig that. That's my segue as well, by the way, into a question that I get asked intermittently, but regularly. Does that even make sense to be intermittent and regular? Who knows these things? But, lots of people can answer that question. What am I talking about? Anyway, starting a YouTube channel, do I have any tips for people who want to do it? I thought about this and I figured I would condense it into 3 little bite-sized chunks. Tip number 1, don't take yourself too seriously. And this is probably the most important thing because you're going to be doing this, primarily you should be doing it for yourself. You know, if you feel there's things that you want to share with people or insights that you have or experience that you have, then I think the world is probably going to be a richer place for you sharing those experiences. But, you know, the cloak of anonymity that people can hide behind on the internet also brings out the worst in them. So no matter how well you play, no matter how much effort you put into your videos, there's going to be somebody who comes on there and says, you suck, or I hated this, this is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. All those kind of things. Don't take it personally. That's just, you know, kind of like a manifestation of, particular side of human nature that, you know, is really easy to get out on the internet. So don't take yourself too seriously. It's all fun and games. At the end of the day, we're just here to play music and have some fun with it. So number 1, don't take yourself too seriously. Number 2, play to your strengths. You know, there's absolutely no point if you're a metalhead trying to start a channel about jazz guitar if you know nothing about jazz guitar, or if you're not a good improviser, don't do videos in one take. Plan them out, figure out exactly what you're going to say, have all your content ready, do the planning beforehand, get in, shoot it, and edit it. That's the beauty of it. If you are a good improviser, then play to that strength. You know, you might be really good at one-take videos or stuff where you can just babble on. That's certainly something that I figured out I find is relatively straightforward. I can talk and talk and talk and just sit here and play and noodle around. And for me, it's, whoa, there's a bug here. You know, it's about being okay at a variety of styles rather than being like incredibly good at one style. But if you are incredibly good at one style, do that one style and play to your strengths. And number 3, invest in some good lighting. You are so much better off having good lighting than anything else, because if your videos look good, people are going to watch them. And if you've got a basic interface and a basic little microphone in some way to record your guitar and make it sound okay, that's good. You don't need a fancy camera. Most modern smartphones will be good enough. Just get some good lights on so that everything looks good. So yeah, all the other stuff will fall into place as you do it and figure it out. But probably point number 1 is probably the most important. And yeah, that'll keep you sane, because putting yourself out there in a kind of public forum can be can lead to a lot of things. You know, it can make you really anxious if you read all the comments and take them to heart. So yeah, that's probably the number 1 thing. But otherwise, just go and do it. You know, share your experience, play to your strengths, and have fun while you're doing it. That is the most important thing. All right, let's have a look at these questions. You know, I said I can't play jazz, and I super can't. The Zoom G11, why do I hate it so much? I wouldn't say that I hate the Zoom G11. I just thought it was really incredibly ugly. And that's a very different thing. You know, it's an inanimate object. Keep that in mind. It's not a human being. It doesn't have feelings. I'm sure the people who designed it and made it have feelings, but I thought it was just not very aesthetic. Not that the aesthetics mean too much. I would love to hear it, as always. You know, plug a HM Strat into that and troll the entire internet. So yeah, it's not a case of hating the Zoom G11. I haven't heard it, don't know what it sounds like. If you can make music on it, I guess it's good, but it was just an odd looking device, especially when there's stuff like, you know, the neural quad cortex, which is the opposite of that. It looks so sleek and so amazing. So yeah, don't hate it. It's just okay. So okay if it sounds good, I guess it's just ugly. Coffee. That was a good question. How do I like my coffee? I like my coffee to be full of caffeine. That's a good way to have it. But I generally drink my coffee black. I got into that when we were touring Europe because, yeah, it was just really easy to get a black coffee and nothing in it and go. So when we did that, I kind of crossed to the dark side with it and haven't looked back. I have a pour over set up at home with a little kettle, you know, because I'm a massive nerd, where you can control the temperature, and a grinder. And I recently got an AeroPress. That's pretty handy. My wife likes French press, so it's a, you know, it's a big coffee party every morning at our house. But yeah, coffee's kind of like guitar tone. There's no right way to have it. Just have it the way that makes you happy. So yeah, I'm enjoying this one at the moment and getting pretty buzzed off it. So there is another question. I'm going to dial up a different tone while I do this. I might grab a different guitar in a second. Let's see. Strat, Marshall. Good. Lots of people pointed out that I play that riff wrong. I know Richie uses his thumb over the top. I just like using the open strings because it sounds pretty good to me, and that's kind of the point a lot of the time. Let's see. The guitar that got away. Are there any guitars I regret selling or not buying? I don't think there's any guitars I regret selling, but there's definitely a few I regret buying. Particularly, I remember maybe it was a year after I bought my PRS single cut, and I was at Guitar Center in Hollywood, and they had a beautiful, it was this beautiful like crimson see-through flame top single cut. And it was like 1,500 American dollars or something like that. And the Australian dollar was at about unity. And I was like, ooh, I do have the money for that. I should buy it. And I tried to convince my friend Troy to buy it, and he didn't buy it. And we forgot about it. But looking back at that now, if you wanted to try buy the equivalent guitar in Australian dollars, it'd maybe be twice that much. So yeah, that's definitely one that got away. Other than that, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's any that I've owned that I've sold that I really regret. Most of the ones that have come in and gone out, there haven't been many that have come in that have gone out. So there's not too many of those. All right. Why are digital outs important? I'm bouncing around here. I apologize about that. In my video about latency, I mentioned that, you know, if you've got digital devices that don't have an analog drive-through and they're each adding, say, 2 milliseconds of latency, and you were to chain them together, for example, think of, you know, running, imagine you had like a really big effects board and you had every Strymon pedal ever made. You know, their digital distortions and stuff like that in there. Obviously, you can't have a digital distortion with an analog dry-through or something like that. So yeah, chaining like maybe 4 or 5 of those together, you might get noticeable latency with something like that. In a studio setting, it's really, really convenient, like an SPDIF or an AES out are really, really handy. There's also a bunch of units coming out now which use Dante, which is a little bit different. I don't quite know how it works, but all my friends who are into high-end studio stuff and live sound stuff absolutely love Dante because you can do the remote thing with it as well. So it just seems more like a case of flexibility. I like the SPDIF out on my Axe Effects, which I've got at the moment, because I can run one cable to my interface and I've got glorious stereo delays and all that kind of stuff. For example, glorious stereo delays. Delicious. Did we name Ragdoll after the cat breed Ragdoll? Yes. We didn't name it after my cat. My cat is not a Ragdoll. He is a Maine Coon, which are gigantic cats from Maine, if you can guess. And apparently they adapted to the cold, wet climates there. And I believe that because that cat absolutely loves water, which is super, super weird. But our drummer Cam had a gorgeous Ragdoll cat, and we were sitting around 8-9 years ago trying to come up with band names. We had this huge list of names and we're like, and then, the cat's doing the cat thing where it's walking over stuff. And yeah, light bulb moment, Cam threw it up. He was like, hey, what about Ragdoll? And we were all like, you know what? That's the first band name we've heard that we don't hate. Let's do it. And as I always tell people, it has nothing to do with the Aerosmith song. All right, this is a good question. The Rubato Lassie, am I still digging it? Let's pull it down. You guys saw me noodling on this in the last Q&A. What do I think about it? I think it's pretty amazing. The guitar is so light and thin and ergonomic, and it plays so incredibly well. But from a distance, it doesn't look like a total alien guitar, like some other brands where it's super crazy. It kind of looks like a vintage guitar. It is a very, very bright guitar. You'll hear, that's a really good thing when you've got a whole bunch of gain and delay because it cuts through. I mean, have a listen to this. So yeah, I am going to have my hands on this, I think, for maybe another couple of months, and I did promise them I would give them a bunch of feedback about it. So yeah, it's going to be in the stable. If you want to see it in some more of my videos before it goes back, these are made in South Africa as well, which I think is pretty cool. Father and son team, Roger and Oliver. If you guys are watching, hope you're all doing really, really well. It's a really unique instrument, and I've been getting on really well with it. So if you want to see it in some more videos, please let me know in the comments. I think I'll noodle away on it a little bit more. Starting a band in 2020, is it worth it? Are there venues to play? Do people still like rock music? This is a really, really good question, and I don't know if I've answered a question like this before, but as a separate thing, I've thought about doing a video kind of breaking down some of the myths about touring and maybe some tips if you're an independent artist and you want to get out there and start touring, because we've done a lot of that and I've got a lot of stories about what not to do. So if that's something you guys would be interested in seeing a video about, let me know. But if you want to start a band playing rock music in 2020, much like starting a YouTube channel, much like starting most things in your life, you have to absolutely love it before you do it. And sometimes the only way to figure that out is to do it first. So if you're hesitant about it, get some of your buddies together and start a band. Just do it, because it's a really worthwhile experience. You may find that it's an incredible experience, it's the best thing you've ever done in your life, and that you love every aspect of it. You may also find that it drives you nuts and it's incredibly time extensive, and you really just end up coming out of it embittered by life and annoyed with people. Those extremes are definitely part of playing in a band, and it happens. But what I would stress is more important than anything is doing it with good people. Much like other things in your life, if the people involved are good people and they have a good attitude and they get on well with one another, then you're going to have a great time no matter what. Even if you were given the choice, and I got a great piece of advice from somebody recently where they were saying, given the choice between playing with really great players who are total assholes and who have a bad attitude, and maybe people who aren't so great, who have a really good attitude, who are good people to be around, choose the good people. That's what it is all about, because no one is making mega bucks playing rock music anymore. It's obviously not the dominant kind of archetype of modern pop music, and that's perfectly fine. It doesn't make rock music any less worthwhile. Do it because it's fun. Try to express yourself while you're doing it. I mean, these are all the reasons that I do it. I love it because I love expressing myself in that particular format. I love playing big riffs. I love playing lead guitar. I love writing songs and writing melodies and writing lyrics. And, that whole creative process at times is incredibly difficult, incredibly, frustrating, bringing a song from a little idea you have in your bedroom, going through all the stuff that's involved in rehearsing, pulling ideas apart. It really kind of, again, you can't take yourself too seriously with it. Otherwise, it'll burn you up. And going through that whole process of creating a song, recording it, spending money on it, promoting it, distributing it, and then having most people consume it as, a little thing that they stream on their smartphone and for 30 seconds and they go, oh, yeah, I guess it's okay, whatever. Don't do it for that reason. Don't do it to impress people. Just do it because you get something out of it and you're expressing yourself. And, what I realized, I think, was if I focused on all the things that I thought were unjust about music in the modern world, that I just got annoyed. And if I just focused on the reasons I love music, I have a really great time. And that was a big turning point for me a couple of years ago, where it's like, you know what? I am so lucky to be able to get to make music with my friends and share it. Just focus on that. And it's awesome. And, I've really found that it has made me a more creative person, made me a less anxious person, and it's been mad fun. So yeah, don't let anybody tell you can't do it. Just do it, give it a try, see if it's for you. It may or it may not, but you will be a better human being for the experience. Getting into some deep stuff there. So I'm going to play some guitar and we'll do one or two more questions. Yeah, this is good fun. Alrighty. A riff or solo that I always wanted to learn when I started playing guitar. This comes from Steven. Steven, I hope you're well. I always love seeing your comments in there. And he mentioned that when he first got a guitar, he just wanted to be able to play Sunshine of Your Love, which is amazing. And, when I was talking about try to focus on the things that you really enjoy about music, I remember hearing Brian Robertson's solo in the Thin Lizzy song, Don't Believe a Word. So... I think that's how you play the riff. My monitor's going off. And, he plays this wah solo at the start of it, which is... I just thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever heard in my life. Where's my expression pedal? You have this... It's something like that anyway. I never learned how to play it properly, but that bend and that trill there. It just, to me, hearing that, the way it made me feel when I heard it for the first time, I was like, I have to do that. How does that happen? And I mean, that's a big reason why I love Wah. Obviously, love Thin Lizzy. Robbo's lead playing is excellent. John Sykes, Scott Gorham, Gary Moore, Snowy White, all the guys who played in that band. Very inspiring stuff. So that was one thing I always wanted to be able to do, and I should probably learn that solo at some stage. While I'm thinking of it, maybe I should do Thin Lizzy, 5 killer riffs. Again, if you guys want to hear that, let me know in the comments. Alrighty, I've almost got through all the questions for this week, which I have written down here. We've done that, we've done that, we've done that, we've done that. Would I ever do a guitar solo on someone's song, like in a session context, and then break down the solo that I did kind of as a lesson on lead guitar? And that one comes from Wade. Wade, if you want to send me your song, I will put a solo on it. I'll do it for free, but you have to let me do a video about it, and then we can make some content out of it. So you can find me on the interwebs on Instagram or anything like that. Just send me a private message, and if you're comfortable in sharing your song, I'll do something on it and share it with the world, and hopefully give you a shout out as well. So that's a great question. That could be really, really interesting, and hopefully give you guys an insight into what I do when I'm not doing gigs and I'm not making videos or teaching. So yeah, that would be awesome. Alrighty, one last thing. Can you guys hear the crows outside harking away? That's one massive reason why I have to reshoot videos all the time. But nevertheless, I haven't played my single cut in this video. I actually haven't played it for about 2 days. I've been playing the Strat and my other PRS and this thing, the Lassie. So this needs to come out, and let's think about a riff that would be fun to ride out on for everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, if you've got questions for next week, please let me know in the video description, and I'll see you next time. I'm gonna play a bit of Ragdoll's Playing God, and you know, I did the video where I played the solo with no expression. I'll do it with plenty of expression for you guys. So thank you for watching the video. See you next time.